Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about the differences you may not realize the performance Model Y has over the long range, so that conversation is coming up. So let's start with the obvious stuff. Tesla obviously charges more for the performance, and actually as of this writing last night, which was mid-June, it was $5,000 more for the performance, but since they raised prices, the difference between the long range and the performance is now $4,000. While personally I don't think that's very much money considering how much these cars cost, if you're on the edge of buying a long range Model Y to begin with, maybe that is a deal breaker for you, but that's obviously going to be something you're going to have to consider yourself. I personally feel like spending the few extra thousand to get the car a lot sooner has a ton of value in itself because the long range has such a long list of people who want it because the demand is so high still that it's going to be a really long time to get your long range compared to a performance. And in case you didn't know, Tesla does prioritize orders, so the performance ones they're going to put at the front of the line compared to the long range because they make more margin on them. You'll notice that there is a range difference, so if you have the performance, it only gets 303 miles max range compared to the long range with the 19-inch Geminis. Those ones get 330 miles of range, and that's because the wheels are bigger, and heavier wheels means less efficiency. So to be more exact, the 21-inch Uber turbines that the performance has weigh 54.5 pounds each. That's really heavy for a rim, to be honest. And the long range with the 19-inch Geminis only weighs 30 pounds each. And so on top of that, the tires are going to be bigger, which means that's more weight as well. So again, the more weight is the less efficiency part. So basically that's one reason why the performance doesn't get as good range. Another thing you may not have realized about the performance is that since it is a performance car, it is made to go fast in straight lines and in the corners. And so with that, what they actually did is they staggered the tires. So for those of you who aren't car people and have no idea what a staggered setup means, it basically means that the front tires and the rear tires are different sizes. And so in racing cars and performance cars, the rear tires are always wider than the front tires. And that's because it's a performance thing. Basically, it allows you to go faster straight because you got more grip. Because most of the time, these types of cars are rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, but you need more grip in the back to push the car and for racing. So basically, if you track race, when you hit those corners, you need more traction, and so basically having wider tires in the back gives you more traction to take those turns harder. The tires in the front are 255 by 35, but in the rear they're 275 by 35. So basically what that means, because they are staggered, is you can't rotate the tires. And basically what that means is that your rear tires are most likely going to wear out faster first, which means you're going to have to change tires more often because you can't rotate the tires to evenly wear them. So because you can't rotate the tires and wear them out evenly, it's going to cost you more money because basically, like I said, the rear tires are going to wear out first. So that is just another cost, an extra cost of having a performance car. Along with having these huge rims, it means that your ride is going to be a bit stiffer because the sidewalls on the tires are thinner, which is the second number, the 35 in the tire size. So in layman's terms, the smaller the second number basically means the smaller the side profile of the tire is, which means the ride is going to be harsher. The trade-off is that you get to see more of the rim, which looks really nice, but then at the same time, your body pays for it because you get thrown around more. And being a performance car, of course they slap on max performance summer tires, which basically means that, tires have different ratings, and so they have tires that are rated for super cold weather, snow tires is usually what they are referred to, and they have summer tires, max summer performance tires that are basically made for desert heat that can handle heat and get sticky when they get hot. And performance cars love hot weather because the tires, like I mentioned, can handle heat and basically they get sticky and kind of almost melt in a way. So that way you can take corners really hard and the tires will still grip and you won't spin out or lose traction. So the stock Pirelli P0s on the Performance Model Y are a great example of that. And the trade-off here is that basically if you want to go snowboarding in the winter or you want to go to the mountains where it's snowing, with a performance car like this, you basically can't. So I know what you're thinking. The car has all-wheel drive, so you should be fine in the snow, right? That is about night and day what you don't want to be thinking because basically it really matters more on your shoes or your tires basically. The grip on the road matters way more than all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive. Trust me, I've done it before, so just take my word for it. When I had my Subaru WRX STI back in the day, that obviously is a performance car as well, so it had summer tires, and I took it up to the snow one time, and I got really lucky I didn't crash because I was sliding all over the place. So basically, if you were to do that with summer performance tires, you would need to get 4 chains as well so you could drive around in the snow. So you can get the 4 chains, make sure it's all the tires because you have summer tires on all 4 corners. But then basically a better option, but it's more expensive, is to get a second set of rims and put snow tires on those rims. So basically you have a summer set and a winter set. So that way when you go to the snow, you can just rotate out the tires and the rims, and basically now you're ready to tear up the snow as well in your performance car. The suspension on the performance is a little bit lower than on the long range. And again, this is for performance. And so basically when the car is lower, you have a better center of gravity. And so that way you can take corners harder and you can, come out of corners harder as well. But the trade-off here is basically the lower the car, that means your suspension is also going to be stiffer. So it's going to be more of a harsh ride than kind of more of a floaty ride in the long range. This almost is a preference thing though, because to me, the performance ride is not really that stiff at all. Compared to the long range, for me, it doesn't really make a difference. My wife didn't even notice either, and she's not a car person, so, it is a performance car that's stiffer suspension, but it's really not that stiff. And this is also coming from me, where basically I've driven lowered aftermarket cars, and those cars are really harsh and stiff. So maybe it's just me comparing that, where basically a stock performance car with a lowered suspension really isn't that harsh compared to these aftermarket cars I've driven, that have really stiff suspensions. Faster car equals more insurance. So for the most part, insurance is very variable depending on you. But if you're to, compare yourself, getting a performance to a long range, the performance is probably going to be a little bit more expensive in insurance. One, because it's a more expensive car to begin with. But 2, insurance companies love to charge more for performance cars because they are performance cars and they go fast. So that makes the car obviously more sporty, but then there's also more risk involved. So that's why insurance companies want to charge more, because there's a greater chance that you might crash, and then they have to spend money for you basically via, your insurance. So those are the differences you may or may not realize you're getting yourself into when you get a performance over a long range. It's obviously a personal decision, but I think it's totally worth it because you only live once, so you might as well have a little fun with it and enjoy the car. Which difference did you think was the most surprising? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching.